All right, we'll start in 1 minute, everybody. Did we lose someone?
Lamson and Nestor got bumped out, but they're coming back in.
Perfect. Okay. I'll start as soon as they get back on. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:05 a.m. Thank you all for being here and appreciate your time. We'll start with public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay. If there's no public comment, we'll go on to review minutes. Everyone going to take a look at the minutes from our last meeting. Ryan's pulling it up on the screen right now. Are there any questions on the minutes from last meeting?
No.
Did someone have a question?
Yeah, I do have a bit of a split personality, but both attending and absent.
That's
My name's
tough.
on there twice.
That'd be tough, Michael. That's fair. And you were you present or not present?
I don't remember missing meetings, so I believe I was present.
Okay. So Brian, we can update that, please.
Got it. Thank you.
But I mean, that's actually pretty good. If you could be there and not there, that's a pretty impressive.
Multitasking, baby.
Okay. Thank you for that correction. If there's no other changes, we'll go to the clean and safe report. Jose.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, all. Want to inform you that probably you already know, but the clean and safe budget was reinstated back to $500,000, which is the same amount that has been approved for the last 5 years, with the exception of year 2021, in which the budget was reduced by $100,000 to $400,000. And that's when we were not able to have security guards in downtown Santa Ana. The good news is that, like I said, the budget was reinstated back to the same amount. We now have security guards in downtown Santa Ana. Patrol Solutions is a company providing security services. Their presence is already making a positive impact in downtown. Also, just so you know, the same company, Patrol Solutions, is providing services at the parking structures, which is great to have the same company because they assist each other. It helps with communication. It's just great. It's just great having the same company providing service in both places. I want to ask you all that when you see the guards in downtown Santa Ana, please make an effort to chat with them, to introduce yourselves. I want to make sure that all the guards get to know all of us. I think it will help them. It will help us have open communication with them. Just so that you know, they're here at 9 in the morning, Monday through Thursday, until 10 o'clock at night. On Fridays, they're here from 9 a.m. until midnight. On Saturdays, they're here from 10 a.m. until midnight. And on Sundays, they're here from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. They're a great group of young security guards. They're very energetic. They're doing a really good job. They're walking downtown. They have 2 vehicles. They have one truck. I don't know if you've seen it. But also they have a golf cart. And like I said, their presence is making a very positive impact in downtown Santa Ana. They have a cell phone that they carry all the time. When the guard that's here in the morning leaves, he or she gives the cell phone to the next guard. So it's always the same telephone number. And I want to make sure that you all have the cell phone number, and please contact them for any non-emergency services, any non-emergency calls. Of course, if you have an emergency, you always call 911, but make sure that you have the security guard cell phone number. Brian, if you can please make sure that everybody has the number, I would appreciate it. And that's all I have for the clean and safe report.
Thank you, Jose. And I would like just to add that I think I equal Jose's sentiments in the fact that this new security team has been really great, very proactive. I see him present. I think Jose alluded to and mentioned just the fact that we have now guards that are both on the ground in the structures. It's much more streamlined, much more efficient, and I think will be beneficial to downtown security. Along those same lines, I should add that I'm sure many of you are aware, but there was a shooting and someone was killed in downtown over the weekend, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know really what to add other than that at this point, but that's just so everyone's aware. It happened on the corner of 5th and Broadway.
Ryan, I think PD is on in case you wanted to.
That would be
defer
great.
that.
I would love to defer to PD if they could have anything to add to that or anything else to add. That'd be great. Thank you.
John, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself, but they're inquiring about the shooting that happened on 5th and Broadway on Saturday night.
Yes, it happened at the West End bar. It all occurred inside. That's where the altercation started, and then it came outside, and that's when there was a bit of a gun exchange in between two individuals that were in some type of scuffle inside the actual bar. Then it escalated outside.
Thank you. Is there any, do they catch the person, or do they know who did it or anything to that, or can you share anything with
It's
that?
still under investigation right now, but no, they haven't apprehended the suspect.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I think just, guys, like anything, this is, we're an urban city and things happen. And unfortunately, this is an unfortunate occurrence. And I don't know what else could have been done from a downtown policing security standpoint. I think these things just kind of happen. I don't know, but.
Yeah, our staffing levels were up. We actually had six officers that night that were all in the downtown at 3rd and Broadway and just around the whole entire downtown. And we even had a sergeant there. So we had, 7 officers that were present 2 blocks down. And, obviously this thing occurred inside the actual, the bar. And it just, it just basically came outside, and that's when the gun exchange with
Sure.
both suspect and victim were, that's when it occurred.
So both were armed, to clarify, or they were
Yeah.
firing at each other?
Yes.
Understood. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you have to add, just downtown wise, with anything to report? Any hot spots? Anything we need to be aware of?
No, but I would like to introduce, our officer Castellanos is no longer on our team now. He went over to a quality of life team. And now we have Matt Nunez, who joined the team, and he's here. I would just like to introduce you to him right here.
How's it going?
How we doing?
Good.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
So he's super motivated. He just came from patrol, so he knows a lot of the the ins and outs of what's happening out there. And he's been working along with Alex Nunez or Alex Gomez, and then he'll be getting trained with Manny Delgadillo, that we all know out there, that's been doing such a fantastic job for all the community. So we got a little bit of young blood now, so it's good.
Excellent.
Good morning, everybody.
Well, pleasure to have you on board, and thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anything else to add, or that's the story?
That's it. We're thank you, gentlemen. We're just trucking along. We're really this incident that occurred in the downtown has really sparked up a lot of in regards to what you're talking about, the security of how what we can do as a department to make it better, to make it a safer environment. But like you said, it's Santa Ana is a very dynamic city, and incidents like this do happen, but we as a police department are going to do everything we can in our capability to minimize all these threats that happen. And it's unfortunate that that's what occurred, but we're doing our best.
We appreciate that. We know you guys are. So thank you again for your efforts. And like you said, I mean, you were 2 blocks away, but there's only so much you can do when something happens in 10 seconds, right? I mean, we understand. So thank you again for your efforts, and we appreciate it. With that, we'll move on to the financial report.
Yes. If Ryan, if you can please share the our year 2021 income and expense report. Just want to go over the general numbers so that you know how we did during last year. Starting with the budget, we budgeted an amount of $91,895, basically just under $92,000. That's the budget that was approved for year 2021. However, we spent $105,000, just under $106,000. But have great news for you. The expected revenue from the city, like I said, it was $92,000, but we received almost $117,000. So we received over $100,000. We received an additional almost $25,000 that we were expecting from the bid funds. That is great news, and we anticipate this, to be the same trend at least for this year, and maybe a couple of years to come. Additionally, Ryan Smoller was successful in receiving a grant called California Relief Grant, which that amount was only allowed to be used for either payroll or to pay contractors. So we received also an additional $15,000. So we spent more than we budgeted at the beginning of the year. Like I said, we spent almost $106,000. The budget that we had approved was $92,000, but we received an additional almost $25,000 from the bid and additional $15,000 from California Relief Grant. And therefore, we have an excess amount of close to $26,000 from year 2021. So we did really good. Of course, we don't have Merchants Fund anymore. Also, we have not received money from OCTA. We invoiced OCTA several months ago. We haven't received the additional $100,000, but on the bid funds, we did pretty good. And I know Ryan Smoller is going to talk about the budget. And also he's going to present a proposal as to what to do with additional funds that we received for year 2021. That's it.
Thank you, Jose. All right, Ryan, are you going to explain the proposal? Or we
That'll come later.
Okay, thank you, sir. Julie, city report, please.
Thank you. Great meeting yesterday with the mayor and the council members. I applaud you guys for that effort. I think that the meeting tone was really good, and I think that they heard you guys loud and clear that the goal is to get some additional program funds from a different source other than the parking.
Do you mind just explaining what happened? I don't know if everyone's aware of the call yesterday. Maybe.
Oh, yes. So both organizations, Downtown Inc. and Santa Ana Business Council, had a meeting with the mayor and council member Hernandez and council member Mendoza. And they basically made a pitch saying, this is what we do. This is where we're at. Thank you for the support with X, Y, and Z. And then you guys made a request for funding, and Councilmember Hernandez accepted that, request and said, send me a write-up, action items with tangible timelines. So I just was saying that I'm applauding you guys for that effort, because knowing that the parking structure revenue isn't where it used to be, we do need to look for funding in alternative locations. So I'm glad that it's moving in that direction. A couple of updates on the city side. We do have a new parking structure operator, and they will be starting next Tuesday. Actually, officially, they'll be starting on the 31st around 7 p.m. and transitioning, and then that way by February 1st, they're up and running. Please take a note that having this transition is saving us several thousands of dollars per year in management fees. We used to pay $33,000 a year in management fees, and now the first year it'll be at $18,000, the second year it'll be $24,000. So there is a substantial savings there. As Jose Romo mentioned, we did hire Patrol Solutions to start being the security guards inside the structures. And I'll be very blunt with you guys. The reason that happened was because the previous security guard company dropped the ball big time. And we had about $5,000 to $7,000 damage of graffiti over the New Year's Eve weekend. So that really, basically they didn't show up for their night shift, and it caused a substantial amount of graffiti. And so We took it upon ourselves to hire the new company, and they're doing great. I do have 2 security guards in the structures at night and 1 during the day, but more and more I'm going to move into having 1 security guard in each structure like we used to in the past.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie.
Yes, the mayor said it yesterday very clearly that his goals are safety, cleanliness, and he alluded to some other things, but overall it was having a very well lit environment with so that aligns perfectly with the mission that I'm on right now, which is fix the budget, generate revenue, and then handle all of the repairs that the structures need, that the parking structures need. With construction coming in February, next Tuesday as well, we're going to have to get creative with our special events and use alternative locations so that we can continue generating that additional revenue. Because remember, at the end of the day, that revenue goes back into the downtown. And I know that merchant fund is something that you guys are always, requesting and getting updates for. And certainly I want to make sure that we can accommodate or allocate some sort of funding. I don't think that we'll be able to accommodate $100,000 for each organization yet, but we should be able to get to some sort of funding source in the future and have a very transparent and equitable process in order to get those funds. Special events. On that note, we do have a new person that is handling special events. Her name is Amber Campos, and I'll run it by you guys to see if we can invite her to the next meeting. She's fantastic. She lives probably half a mile from downtown. She's from the city. She's worked with PD for years, and the city council just adopted a new policy, a new application, and a better system. And I want to say they lowered the fees for parks reservations. So that's all good. We're all moving in in a good direction on that front. That's it from me, unless there's questions about something in particular. Okay, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it. Teresa, OCTA report.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thanks for including me in your meeting today. Just a quick construction update. The work that's happening right now at Ross intersection should be completed by Sunday night. That was a prerequisite that the contractor had to have the Ross intersection open before they enter into the downtown. So as Julie alluded to, and we've been providing some information to the businesses all along 4th and surrounding blocks, that Walsh is in fact starting construction in the downtown. They will set up their traffic control on Monday. That'll be checked with city inspectors, and then the demolition will begin on Tuesday morning. And I do have let's see if this works. I've got just a brief presentation. Let me know when you guys can see the slide.
See it.
Okay, great. So, as I said, we're going to start work on Monday. Our commitment is always that the businesses' access will remain open. Okay, so the track construction consists of 2 non-adjacent 2-block segments. There'll be no parking available on the north or south side of the street. There will be intersection closures. However, pedestrian access open, as I said before, remains open. The work hours will be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That does not mean that you'll see crews out there every day until 7 p.m. The timing for the crews is typically about 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And all of these closures are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this shows you sort of the traffic for those who don't have to come into the downtown. Obviously, we're trying to shift traffic away so people don't get tied up in the construction area. So we're encouraging people to use Santa Ana Boulevard and then go down to 3rd Street.
How long do they anticipate this closure for, Teresa?
This will be, the work in the downtown will take a year at a minimum, could be longer. What we have done to kind of set ourselves up for success, you'll remember that we did that trench, what we call the mini trench. So we identified a couple of things, conflicts that we saw. So we know where they are and we know how to avoid them and how to mitigate them once we get to that location. This first phase that we're talking about here, where the work is between Bush and Main, and then down between Ross to Main. This is, yeah. I'm sorry, this is phase 2. So let me go to the phase before, because this was all of a sudden confusing me. Okay. So the work, this first phase is going to be the 2 block segments here between French and Bush, and then Main and Broadway. That is about a 6-month effort. And again, the downtown, as you know, is broken up into 8 blocks. That first area between Mortimer and French is basically done, which is why the second phase is only 3 blocks. Okay, let's go to the next one. The detours, there'll be a bunch of signage. The sidewalks, as I said before, will be open for foot traffic. We're going to be using crowd fencing. So they look similar to bicycle racks. Those will be put up all along the sidewalk. Just to remind everyone that on the south side, the head-in parking goes away and the planters will be removed. There's about a little over 20 trees that will get pulled out in addition to the planters. And when we restore the work, there will be parallel parking. There are 2 platforms that have to be constructed also for over there at French and at Sycamore. We'll continue to work with you guys as things come up. Like I said before, we've been out providing some information to people. Really, the message that will make, I think, everyone's life a little bit easier is to really just direct everyone to go to the parking structures. Their access will remain consistent. And so if people, try to avoid parking on 4th Street, they'll just, they can get tied up in the detour routes, but the parking structures, I think, is probably as I said before, the most consistent way for people to get access to everybody who's going to be on 4th. The other message.
Sorry, one other question. Is this going to be the same as before, where the weekends, the streets will be open and they'll be closed Monday through Friday, or is this a 7-day?
No, this is 7 days a week,
Got it.
24 hours a day. Yeah. Once they set this up, they're locked in.
Understood.
So we're working on some alternate locations for things like loading zones. You guys know the access to the alleys will remain open. We're looking to add some signage there that'll say either deliveries only or no through traffic. You will still be able to get through, but that's to discourage people from starting to use the alleyways as kind of cut throughs. We want the alleys to be preserved really for only the people that need it. So for example, people who access the alleys to access their businesses from that area.
Can I chime in on that?
Sure.
Teresa, really quick. I know that there's a lot of construction. I'm glad that Mike and Ryan, you guys are both here, Ryan Chase. There's a lot of construction trucks that park in the loading zones. If we can just ask those trucks to park somewhere else, that way the loading zones and those paths to the alleyways stay clear, because you could just imagine like the big Pepsi Cola trucks or UPS trucks, etc. They need that driveway clear.
That's fine. I'll need some more clarity. We'll need some communication between OCTA and perhaps Julie with our construction manager over there, whose job is to do what you're asking, to be a good neighbor, to kind of work through these things. But it's a very, very active role.
I think for the Toll Brothers, it's not such an impact because there's no like alleys, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll nudge the workers and stuff,
So
and
you're saying
I'll ask parking enforcement to nudge them too, to just keep the areas clear. They're not,
Yeah,
enforcement's not so nice though.
sorry. What happens is Toll will get on the construction manager who will get on their subs, but the subs will kind of backslide in the name of making things easier. So we're just constantly having to hammer them, morning meetings, and the better we know what your request is, the better we can kind of keep these guys doing what they're supposed to be doing. Having said that, I'm glad to hear it's really a Ryan Chase problem and not a Toll Brothers problem. That guy's a troublemaker.
I'll talk to him.
So we're letting the team, that's working over at the site for the Toll Brother project, Rafferty project, to be aware that, Walsh will be in the area now. It's really on the two, like you said, the two construction teams to kind of coordinate communication between them, but I'm always available to help answer questions if people aren't aware of kind of what's coming, or if they have questions about any of the work that we're doing. We're also setting up an EarthCam camera on 4th Street, just west of Main, in order to kind of capture in real time for OCTA executive staff as well as the CM team. So it'll be pointed west, in a westerly orientation, so we can watch them do the work. And then it's also, look, if something happens down there, we've had these earth cams on other projects, and, if there's something that's caught that needs to be addressed with security, we can provide that to them as well. And that'll also capture the work at the Sycamore platform. I just got 2 more quick slides here. So again, this is the way to, to reach all of us. You can go to the website, getting on social media. We can do that really quickly in real time if something happens and we have to alert anybody to anything. We'll also be providing information to the vendors, to the business owners there, again, to highlight the parking availability. So we'll be providing some graphic information for them to share on their own social media, and you guys can have it to help direct people to the parking structures too. And then just a reminder, we'll continue to have our Eat Shop Play program, which has been helpful, I think, to businesses in the area, works in coordination with other efforts that you guys are doing. And just to talk briefly about the money part of it. Yes, we were still missing some invoicing and some information that we have now. So the check, I hate to say the check is in the mail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have, when they cut the check, I'll get it from them and I'll walk it, I'll get in touch with Jose and hand it to him. We had an issue with getting the check to SABC, and the check literally got lost in the mail. We had to cut a new one. So that money should be coming over the next 2 weeks. And I just had a conversation yesterday with Daryl Johnson, our CEO, and OCTA is open to providing additional funding for this coming year. I think, we already took the step of administratively extending the agreement. So the agreement itself stays active for the following year, for the next year. But we think that we can, obviously we'll have to develop a plan and go to our board to get approval. So I can't say for how much yet, or that it's a done deal, but we are open to, kind of talking about what you all think would be some initiatives that would be important to help, as we get into construction. Obviously, when we funded these agreements, we didn't know about COVID. COVID literally hit the next month where everything shut down. But I think you've demonstrated a really substantial use of the funding that we've given you thus far. And so anyway, just wanted to bring that piece of news to your group as well.
That is great news, and we really appreciate that. I guess question from a next step standpoint on that, would it be worthwhile to get both of our groups together as an SABC, OCTA, and Downtown Inc. and kind of strategize? Because we actually had a call yesterday, as we mentioned too, with the council and the mayor, and we have a list of, I guess, what call it wants anyways. So maybe there's a way to apply some of that to what you're talking about, if that's possible.
Right, right. And as a reminder, our board is going to is going to want to know that we're not like kind of supplanting other funds.
This is augmenting additional programming on top of
Yeah,
what.
yeah, you know how this all works.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I want to make sure that we set ourselves up with, demonstrating some really great programs that you've done and how you've utilized the money, and then kind of developing a budget and a, program list for things that that would be supportive for this next year while you're in construction.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any questions from anybody in the group about construction?
What's the realistic completion date estimated? I know it's kind of a moving target,
It's
but
March. What we've taken to our board recently, back in December, was March of 2024.
now the operational up and running.
Yes, that's what we refer to as the RSD, or revenue service date. So you'll start to see streetcars out on the street 6 months, at a minimum 6 months before that. There's a significant amount of testing that has to happen with the cars up and down the route before we put what we call revenue service, or paying customers on the street cars. So you'll see them on the streets. They'll be empty, but they'll be out there well before that March date.
Teresa, I have one more question. I know your outreach team is fantastic, and they've been going door to door. It looks like some no parking signs just went up today at the meters. And so I'm getting some text messages and some not so happy messages here. Did they go door to door to everyone on those segments?
Yes. Yeah, we've been through and talked to everybody, or we've made contact at least with employees for everybody on 4th Street at least once. They'll be out again tomorrow with additional material. And then another element that we're bringing to this is, where we just haven't settled on a date yet, is we're going to have sort of what we're referring to as OC streetcar office hours, where at least one day a month we'll have myself, and I think Julie's going to join us, which will be great, for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon for anybody to kind of, call in, get information, ask questions. And, obviously we will take individual calls and deal with issues one-on-one, but this will be sort of a standing time that we'll put on everyone's calendar to kind of check in if there's any questions that they have, or want to have some better understanding of what's going on out in the street.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a question, Teresa. What is the plan to keep the sidewalks clean? When you guys close the streets for construction, there's major construction on the streets. There's a lot of dust that goes onto the sidewalks and also goes into the businesses. And last time that you guys did that, a lot of the folks in the area complained. So is there a plan? Is there a plan to keep the sidewalks clean?
So let me we've got a 10 o'clock meeting with Walsh after this. I'll find out what their specific plan is, but basically what they need to do is to make sure that the area is kept damp, as they're working, so that really keeps the dust down. Now, once the dust gets out there in terms of sweeping every day, let me find out what they have in mind for that.
Great, thank you. And also, if you can ask them to please make sure that they remove anything that could become a weapon, such as large pieces of rock or anything that somebody can grab and throw to a storefront. Unfortunately, we have had some break-ins in the last month or so, and it's when individuals are able to get a piece of rock and throw it and break a glass. So
Okay.
it's important for us if the working crew can make sure that all that is removed from the area, so that we avoid those problems.
Okay. I'm not sure I can prompt, some of the material that they, when they start to pull the rail in, there's also, let me see if one of these slides kind of shows the rail construction. Go back. So you can see on the slide here that, there are pieces of, most of this
Teresa,
is
can
kind of
you
all,
reshare your screen?
oh, sorry about that. Let's see. So let me know when you guys can see what I'm talking about.
We can see it now.
Okay, so all of this is, this support system here for the rails. It's all welded together, but that's not to say that there aren't occasionally pieces that are not welded together that they just miss. So, I'm going to remind them and let them know that this is a concern, but I just want to be realistic about what I think we can promise.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, let me figure out how to stop sharing now.
Thank you again, Teresa. We appreciate it. And thanks for the consideration on future funding. We really, really appreciate it. And I think it'll be helpful to continue to collaborate on this together. So thank you for that.
Okay, and again, any questions, you guys, my phone number is 714-560-5374. That's my office line. Any email, if you go to ocstreetcar@octa.net, gets to me and other members of the team.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Mr. Smoller, consultant report.
Okay. All right. Okay, good morning, everybody. Can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to go through a bunch of different things. As we talked about last time we got together, last year we've been on a campaign to get the downtown recovered and get back to the funding levels that we were at in 2019 and hopefully even beyond. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the progress we've made, some of the things that are going on as we continue this good fight. So in the last quarter of 2021, we finished up some big events that we had helped sponsor out of these OCTA grant funds. The Tamal Fest and Pozolata were really successful events by one of our board members, Eddie Q, that we contributed to. Right before, I think, our last meeting was the Maria's Halloween event, which was really successful in the Artist Village. So these grants they've completed all the $15,000 grants that you guys selected to fund third-party events, and they were all successful. So we're really excited about that program. We'd love to bring that program back in 2022 and bring it before you. As we've talked a little bit about, we're waiting for our second OCTA check, which sounds like it's coming imminently and potentially could be followed up by additional revenues in the future, which is a really exciting thing to hear about. That money has been a total lifeline and helped us pivot during the pandemic and do tons of innovative programming that we're really sad to currently not be having because we're in between getting that second check. So once that comes back, we'll be able to finish up paying some expenses from last quarter and go right into doing some more exciting stuff for 2022 with that funding. That's awesome. Also, we've been working really hard with Travel Santa Ana, the new tourism bureau and visitor bureau for Santa Ana, which operates similar to us on a sort of a tax on the hotels throughout the city. There's 17 hotels, mostly on the periphery of town. And we've been connecting a lot with their new leader and did a familiarity tour for all of the hotels to go visit downtown, check out the venues, check out different restaurants. They had shabu shabu for the first time in their lives, many of them. And we're not just bringing them here, but we're also going to Travel Santa Ana. We've participated in 4-hour strategic planning sessions and hour-long interviews with their consultants as they develop their brands, their strategy, their priorities, because we want to make sure that downtown Santa Ana is authentically represented, and also that megaphone that Travel Santa Ana can provide for our arts, culture, history, diversity, that's all aligned with what we're working on. So it's been a high priority item. It's already been paying off daily. We get statistics and data like we've never gotten from some of the services that Travel Santa Ana is signed up for. So, for example, we're able to see on a Saturday night where visitors are going based on their cell phone data, and learn that Art Walk was a top destination in the city for 2021, which is something that, you know, we've always believed, but now there's actually some data behind some of these things, which is really exciting. We also had a clean and safe team appreciation lunch with council member Nolita Mendoza a few weeks ago. One of our priorities for 2022 is to do a lot more with the council people. You have a new council, and they have a lot of ideas, and they're getting a lot of different things done. And so we want to make sure that we're a priority of theirs and connected to the communities and interests that they represent, and sort of reframing some of what we do within the paradigm that they're sort of trying to bring forward in the city. As I think it was mentioned a little bit, I'm sorry. And also in December and November, we were very busy with the bid renewal. So every year we have to renew the bid. That includes going to a commission meeting and presenting, as well as we presented or were available to answer questions at 2 council meetings in December. And as Jose mentioned during the finance report, that all went well. We got our $100,000 approved for the bid, and the clean and safe contract was re-upped to the pre-pandemic levels of $500,000 as well. So those are wins. Yesterday, we had a successful meeting with the council and mayor to ask them about, you know, finding ways to restore our merchant fund. As Julie said, you know, the councilman is awaiting us to resubmit some documents so that we can see how we can move forward with that critical $100,000 funding for each group until it can be put back in the parking. And this is something that we've been working on all year. We've met with the council people independently. We also tried to be part of the different programs like the American Rescue Plan, which was the city received something like $150 million to build back cities better. And we would love to see some of those funds go into the downtown, into our programming and sustainability. We were surprised to see programs popping up like during December, the city funded a skating rink for $800,000 for 30 days, and it lost $700,000. So we feel like we have less expensive offerings that are more sustainable and add to the city coffers, because when you activate, for example, during Art Walk, that increases our sales tax contribution, increases our parking revenue, business license fees, and the positive momentum of the city. So we want to see some of these types of funds diverted to us. Furthermore, the city had a $45 million surplus this year. So similar to what we found at the end of the year is that, you know, some revenues came in that people didn't expect. A lot of expenses weren't able to be utilized due to several COVID months and lack of programming, things like that. And so the city and us both ended up with surpluses. And with their $45 million surplus, they recently spent $25 million of it. And so some of those items for things in that $25 million list was an economic development project for South Main to provide restaurant incubation and public art for their corridor. So we want to see us being a part of these type of surplus investments as well. You know, a lot of reasons there is a surplus is because we're generating revenue for the city, and we've seen a real commitment of our businesses, commitment of our property owners. Everyone's got a lot of skin in the game right now, more than ever. And so we want to make sure that we're recapturing revenue that we're creating as reinvestment so that we can continue to thrive here, and that those monies aren't just going elsewhere. Unfortunately, so we do feel like that $100,000, the merchant fund conversation is going in the right direction and is picking up steam. Something else that has been a bit of a setback is the Arts and Culture Commission. They received $100,000 to grant out to important community arts events. And so they have a rolling application each month, and they've been giving out money each month. They're pretty much almost out of money at this point. And we applied 3 different times and were rejected all 3 times for Art Walk, asking pretty much for about $2,500 per Art Walk. It is for about a 6-month period because their granting was from January of this year through June. And so we were rejected 3 times. This last time I mounted a letter writing campaign and got over a dozen letters submitted to them from artists, downtown businesses, resident leaders, neighborhood leaders, the former councilman who founded the Artist Village. Pretty good spread of convincing information that that this is a really critical event that the community supports and wants to see happen, and it still did not get funded. And so we're sort of removing ourselves from that situation. And I worked with Sarah Marshall, who writes our newsletter, and we've created a Art Walk sponsorship package so that we can go out and raise funds from other places for Art Walk. We've developed a series of different partnerships and sponsorships, which we're soliciting, and I'll get you guys a copy of this sponsorship packet so you can help me distribute it. We've shown it to a few people and already raised $2,000 from some of the smaller contributor categories, and we have people looking at some of the bigger category expenses as well, which we're really excited about bringing on partners to keep amplifying and growing Art Walk, because there's no reason we should just go back to where we were in 2019. We want to keep growing the footprint of Art Walk, the success of Art Walk, and the ability of Art Walk to spin off third-party events like Boca de Oro. It's our economic engine and downtown heart. So there's as much partnership as we can bring to the table. That's great. And so people can take on a bigger sponsorship, like sponsoring the downtown trolley, which has been MIA since COVID. And they even get unique sponsor benefits, like they get to toot the horn. We also have, these smaller category sponsorships for property owners or businesses or even individuals to take on. And so we've seen some great folks already step up with those supports. And something new that we're going to add is there seems to have been in the last year or two a lot of confusion about Art Walk. Who produces Art Walk? Why does Art Walk cost money? Why does downtown produce Art Walk? We have other people like the mall. I saw a post about they're building, the new Main Place Mall, and they're building something called the Art Walk there. So we've seen a huge diffusion of our program go to other places and get diluted. And so we're going to start doing an Art Walk gala where we really visibilize and showcase all of the infrastructure, the people behind Art Walk, the partnerships, and celebrate the Art Walk as its own thing, because it really deserves that type of attention, and it needs it because it's been completely misconstrued. At our council meeting when we were presenting our budget, they asked why we don't support the Art Walk, which was a very, very surprising thing to hear because it's pretty much our #1 priority. So we'll be moving that forward and look forward to your help with that. And then also, I've completed a draft 2022 marketing strategy for downtown. So this is something that I'll be sending out to you, and we'll look for you guys to give a reaction to or any edits or ideas. But it basically covers a lot of the work that we're doing and the things that we're trying to do in 2022. Really excited about these strategies. Some of the newer ones are to work closer with the council on priorities that we share, and also more instantiating of our placemaking work and beautification as part of our marketing strategy. And then a lot of continuing the great work that has been going on through both OCTA, bid and bid funds, and hopefully with some of the merchant funds too coming back. So we have that's my report, and we have an action request today, and I'm excited to go through this with you. Let me pull up the actual documents here because it's a little complicated. There is this. Uh-oh. Okay, I don't know if I have them open here. Oh, here it is. Okay, great. Okay, so as Jose mentioned, we finished out the year, and because of we the city expected us to have revenues from the bid of $70,000, and it ended up being over $100,000. And also, we had several months where we couldn't execute our programming due to COVID. So we ended up with quite a substantial cash carryover of around $26,000. Furthermore, when we were at the city doing the renewal, the gentleman from business licensing was there, and we did a deep dive into the numbers of what the city has collected. Now, as you may know, the city holds the money for us, that the business tax license, and we invoice to that amount. And so they have an account on hand where they're keeping, that we're invoicing to. And what's happened is, because of programs like PPP loans and things like that, people had to show that they had a business license. Well, many downtown businesses did not have their business license up to date. And so they went into the business license office and they paid this year, or maybe this year, last year, and the year before. And so there's a huge backlog surplus from people making their business licenses current during COVID. And there's about what we've confirmed with Mark Morley at Economic Development is about $36,000 on hold at the city for us from 2020 and 2021 payments that were back bumps. And it's our prerogative to spend this money as soon as possible. We're supposed to collect the taxes and spend them and not keep reserves. And so we have a proposal to amend the budgets that you approved, the budget you approved last meeting. And what we'd like to do is, as you guys know, Jose and myself, we've taken cuts in the proposed budgets because there hasn't been that much funding to do all of our programming. And also because when people review our budgets, they don't like to see administrative costs in them. And so this gives us a chance to recuperate those costs. There was some loss in 2021, and then this is the projected gap looking forward of 2022. So we would like to approve filling Jose and my buckets back up to our 2019 amounts. And then we also can put the additional $25,000 into marketing and events programming. And so this is just an allocation of our cash on hand carryover and our surplus at the city. And just as a reminder of the full scope, this is the full scope of budget items that we're trying to work with, which is one, the merchant account, the $100,000 we're pursuing annually, OCTA, which the $100,000 check is in the mail, and potentially more funding for marketing, events, and programming. We're pursuing up to $50,000 in Art Walk and other grants and sponsorships for events. We have the downtown bid license fee revenue, which is $100,000, the Clean and Safe revenue, which is $500,000, and the Revive Santa Ana funds, which went to fixing the parking structure, murals, and security. So we're dealing with a much larger budget for everything we're trying to accomplish, but this is really one of the only sources that we can utilize to repair these cuts that we made, these proposed cuts in our 2022 budget. So the ask today is for you to approve this budget addendum. And I have any questions and before you want to take a vote.
I have a question. If you can go back to that surplus for the bid, just it's a simple question. So I want to refer to it. So 2020 cash on hand, that's what you guys have in the bank account. I think Jose mentioned that you guys have a little over 20,000. The surplus bid funds on hold at the city. Can you describe where you got that number from, 36,500?
Yes, so they are basically bid fees or business license fees that were collected in 2020 and 2021. So the city collected over the $100,000 that we budgeted for and invoiced for, and there's still leftover funds in the account for both SABC and Downtown Inc. So those are those confirmed numbers.
I have our accounting our accountant that manages this bid, I can get a year-to-date number to see what the actual money available that we have in the two trust accounts. And then I also want to make sure that you guys are clear that you guys invoice us in the rears. So I'm not sure how much invoices you have out there for however many months. And if those invoices are going to eat into that amount, maybe that's like a Jose clarification point.
Yes, that is correct. We invoice and basically we spend the money and then we request reimbursement. If you give me just a couple of minutes, I can tell you how much money we have spent and not requested refund for. Just give me 1 minute, and if you can continue the conversation while I look for this.
Guys, I also have a question. So does Santa Ana Business Council also have a similar amount reserved for them because of the overages of the licenses as well?
Yes, I've split the total number in half. So it just, what I showed you represents our half, but they also have the same.
Hey, that's a fantastic number. And I know a lot of people around here were like signing up for business licenses to get the PPP. So great news.
And I think Santa Ana Business Council may have more because they were very conservative with their budget and they didn't spend as much. So and I want to say that their invoices are pretty caught up. Like they've given me a lot of 2020, a lot of 2021, whereas with Downtown Inc., I have the latest invoice that I have from Downtown Inc. is from December of 2021, but yeah, just so let me see, it would be expenses for January, February, and March. And so that's my observation, and my point is that you guys, Downtown Inc. spent money all of 2021, right? And then you guys are going to get reimbursed for the money that you spent. So I just don't know what the true and actual dollars are. And that's why I'm putting my 2 cents there.
So here's the letter from one of the letters from Mark Morley where he first confirmed the surpluses. So the way that we see this is that each year the council's approving $100,000 of our reimbursements. And so in 2020, there was a 2020, there was a $20,000 surplus. And in 2021, was a $53,000 surplus over that amount. So there's about, $73,000 of extra funds that were collected beyond what we expected to reimburse from. So these are additional funds beyond the 200,000 that the groups are pulling out of. There's additional funds through that.
Yeah, I actually put that together. So I'm familiar with that. But my point is just how much you've spent in 2021 and how much you actually have overage. But I think that because of the pandemic, you guys may or may not have spent at the same level as 2019. So maybe you were in the same boat. I'm just throwing it out there so that you guys actually don't spend money that you don't have. But
That's
Jose,
right.
I think is right.
That's right. And I just checked, you're right, Julie, you submitted an invoice recently for expenses that we did during the first quarter of last year. For the rest of the year, basically from April through December of 2021, we have invoices total of about $45,000 that will be submitted in the next, half of it will perhaps be submitted in about 2-3 months, and the other half about 2 months after that.
And you're welcome to turn them all in, Jose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, so just to clarify, Jose, are you comfortable and confident that the request being made we can cover and don't have other outstanding bills, if you will?
Yes, we can cover that. I reviewed Ryan Smoller's proposal, and I made sure that we have the funds. We have close to $26,000 in the bank at the moment, and Julie already has an invoice of over $20,000. She's working on that invoice. We should be getting the money in 2 to 3 weeks, And then, like I said, I will be submitting another request for $45,000. So yes, we have the funds to cover this proposal, and we have the funds to cover all the proposed activities that we have planned for 2022.
Thank you. Anyone have any further questions on the proposed budget change, or questions, concerns, comments, feedback? Anybody? Okay, with that, if there's no questions, does anyone have a motion to approve the changes?
This is Nestor. I move for approval.
Do I have a
This is
second?
Yvonne. I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, and I can't see everyone here, but all in favor, if you can raise your hand, I guess.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
nay?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I have any nays or abstentions? Okay, thank you. All the motion passes. Appreciate that. And I want to thank Ryan and Jose. I know they've again worked on, less pay, frankly, for the last year or so, just helping us get through this. And, we're able to help bridge the gap and make them whole, which is nice to see. And again, I think as much as we've had some challenges over the last year or two from a financial budgeting standpoint, it seems like things are finally trending the right way and in a positive direction. I think we're starting to get some inroads made with the city, starting to get some cost cut, with the garages and some of the things we're doing downtown. And then, very positive to hear that OCTA is interested in helping, fund some additional programming. So I think, frankly, to end this meeting, I mean, if we have anything else, I'll add in a second, but I think to have all these things kind of go in this direction is very positive, and I think a lot better than we anticipated even going to the meeting this morning. So I'm very happy with that, and we'll continue to push and advocate the city and the council to help augment what we're doing. And as we mentioned yesterday, we had the call with the council, and we'll be following up with them shortly with some requests, and then continue to apply pressure to get them on board. I mean, I think as Ryan mentioned earlier, there's a lot of money going around the city to a lot of other things, and downtown kind of seems to be an afterthought in a lot of ways. And we need to get to the forefront of that discussion and have a seat at that table. And I think we're finally starting to happen. So a lot of it just, frankly, I think communication and information and facts and being properly communicated to the council. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and lack of knowledge, frankly, of what we're doing and how we're doing it and who's involved and whatnot. But I think, again, after, like I said, calls yesterday, that direction, I think that communication, that respect, that working together, I think is going the right way. And I think it's all very positive. So I don't have anything else to add, unless Ryan, do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
So I think with that, I'll end the meeting at 10:06. Thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. And again, I think very positive, big picture, and things are trending up. So thank you all for your time. Stay safe, be well, and we'll